Hello, welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to show you how to create sequins, embroidery and beaded trims in Clo 3D. This is actually a very easy and useful function to add some interesting elements to your design. All three of the trims will be using the topstitch tool. So, let me briefly talk about topstitch just in case if you are not familiar with this function yet. In the 2D window, you will see three symbols indicate segment topstitch, free topstitch and edit topstitch. Go to Object Browser and click the default topstitch, then go down to Property Editor. You will see the option to edit your stitch. For regular topstitch, you want to select texture type. Offset will determine how far your topstitch is from the segment line you select. Stitch count will let you add more than one stitch line. Go down to the specification. Clo 3D offers few preset stitch such as overlock, pick stitch and zigzag. You can change the length SPI, which means stitch per inch. Higher SPI number will have tighter stitching and vice versa. Thread thickness is how you can change the thickness appearance of the thread. If you are making denim jeans, you will want to increase thread thickness to 200 or more. You can change the material type like how you will change for fabric. If you want a metallic thread, then you will select shiny or silk satin, or even metal. It all depends on your preference. You can also change color of the thread as well. To add top stitch to the garment, I am going to demonstrate on this t-shirt. First, choose either segment top stitch or free top stitch. The difference is, if I use segment top stitch on the neckline for this t-shirt, because there's a point to break the segment line. When you add top stitch, you will end up with a space where the point is. In this case, free top stitch is the better option. You can click one point to start and drag to where you wanted the stitch to end and click again to exit. To delete the top stitch, just select Edit Top Stitch from toolbar. Select the segment and hit Delete key. Now you know how to use topstitch tool. Let's start creating the trims. First trim I am going to show you is sequins. You can create the sequin from scratch using Illustrator, Photoshop or any software you have. But the easier way to me is to find a picture of the sequin online. Take a screenshot or download it. First thing you need to do is removing background. Then adjust the size of the sequin. In this case, I am making a 0.25 inches size of sequin. Once I am done with adjusting the size, save it as PNG file. This is important to make sure you have a transparent background for the sequin before importing to Clo 3D. Go to Object Browser and click Default Top Stitch. Go down to Property Editor. Select Texture Type. I am choosing 0 offset for this sequin trim because I wanted this trim to appear in the center of the segment line. Under Specification, I am selecting SPI 4. This means I will have 4 sequins within 1 inch space. Then go to Material. In Texture, click the 4 squares icon to import the PNG file I created earlier. For sequins, I will change the material type to silk satin to give the shiny look. You can play with other options to see what works better for you. If you look at Object Browser, the default top stitch should be replaced with the PNG file you imported already. Now let's test the top stitch and see if it's working. I am going to create internal lines and use segment top stitch tool to add the sequin trim. Make sure you select the sequin trim in the Object Browser. And there, that's how you create sequin trim. By the way, you can also add normal map and displacement map to your sequin trim. If you don't know how to do that, please watch my previous video that I demonstrated how to create realistic texture. It's not necessary to add displacement map since sequins are normally pretty flat anyway. Here is a side-by-side comparison in the render window. I added normal and displacement map to the green sequin, and not the red one. There's not a huge difference, so this is just an option according to your preference. Here is a sweater I have made, and I used internal lines to create a Christmas tree design. Now I can apply the sequin trims to the internal lines. I am going to add cable knit texture to the sweater to complete the look. And this is the result from the render. By the way, here is another good place to get free sequin trims. That is Closet Connect website. It's free to sign up, and you can link Connect website with your Clo application too. Once you are in Connect website, just click on Store. Type Sequin in search. Check free item only. And you should be able to see all the free sequin related items. Simply add the item you like to the cart. Check Connect Terms of Service. And place the order. Then click Download, and it's ready to be imported to Clo 3D. The next trim I am going to show you is embroidery. Making embroidery trim is pretty much the same like making sequin trim. First, you need to either find a picture of the embroidered trim online or create your own. I found this leaf pattern embroidery trim online and took a screenshot of it. Crop the design into a seamless repeat. Adjust the embroider to the size of your preference. Ideally, you don't want to make the trim more than 1 inch, and I will explain why when I start adding the trim to the garment. Make sure to remove background and save as transparent PNG file. Now I can import it to Clo 3D. Go to Object Browser and select a top stitch. Go down to Property Editor. Choose Texture Type. Select 0 for offset if you wanted the trim to appear right at the center of the internal line. Go to Material, under Texture. Click the 4 squares symbol to import the PNG file. The PNG file will appear in your object browser to indicate it has been uploaded and ready to use. Here is a raglan sleeve sweatshirt I have added internal lines for embroidery trim. Let me use the top stitch tool to add the embroidery trim to the lines. As you can see, the internal lines I created are slightly curved. So you might see some gaps between each embroidery repeat. When your trim is narrow, this issue can be fixed easily. When you add top stitch to the internal line, in Property Editor, you will see Corner. Click on Curved and Smooth. This should get rid of those gaps and make your embroidery trim a smooth continued line. However, it won't work if your trim is really wide. Here is an example of the same embroidery trim and I made it almost 5 inches wide. And I made this really curvy internal line on the sweatshirt. As you can see, when I apply the 5 inches embroidery trim to this line, there's a huge gap. Even turning on curve and smooth will not solve the problem. So the narrower trim you have, the smoother line you will get. If you only have straight internal lines, then this won't be an issue. When I created embroidery trim, I usually will add normal and displacement map to make the embroidery more realistic. Here is the final render of the sweatshirt with the embroidery trim. The last demonstration I am going to show you is how to create 3D trims such as beaded trim. First you need to make the bead. Go to 2D window toolbar. I am making a 5 inches by 5 inches square as a size guidance, so I will know how big the bead I am making. Select Ellipse tool. Hold Shift and drag mouse to create a circle. Lower particle distance to 1. Then increase the thickness rendering. There's no set amount of how much you need to put for thickness to get a perfect ball. You kinda have to play with it and see what number you put will get you a perfect round shape. Remove the unnecessary points from the circle by selecting them, right-click and convert to curve point. This will make the ball surface more smooth. As you can see, the bead I am making is pretty large. If I make it around 1/4 inches, you won't be able to get a smooth ball. So I am keeping the ball around 4 inches and I can still change the size later. Once I am happy with the shape, it's time to export the bead as OBJ. Go to top toolbar, under File. Click Export and OBJ. Type the name you want to call this OBJ and click Save. It will bring out the Export OBJ window. Select all patterns. Click Single Object, Thick. Choose cm Studio for the scale and click OK. Go to Object Browser and select a top stitch. Go to Property Editor. This time you want to choose OBJ and type 0 for the offset if you like to have the trim on the center of internal line. In Specification, under Shape, click the plus sign to bring out Add OBJ Top Stitch window. Choose cm Studio for scale. In File, click the 4 square symbol to import the OBJ file I saved earlier. Once you locate the file, just click OK to exit the window. The beaded trim should be created and updated in the Object Browser. Let me test and see if it works by using the Top Stitch tool to add the trim to the internal line. And there, the beaded trim came out great. However, the size of bead is really large. To change the size of the bead, go back to Property Editor. Under Specification, change the length to 0.5 inches. And choose SPI 2. This means there will be 2 beads within 1 inch of space. If you change the length to 0.25 inches, then you will choose SPI 4. So there will be 4 beads within the 1 inch space. Here is a dress that I have created a flower-shaped design with internal lines. Now I just need to add the beaded trim to complete the look. This is the final render of the design. I hope after watching this video, you will be able to create some interesting trims for your garments. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to click like and subscribe.